Hello guys, good afternoon and how are you? This is Mary New Life Def 8. Kindly like, subscribe, share and drop a comment. Today is on Friday. How has your week been? Have you faced some challenges here and there? But I thank God if you are still alive and you have everything of yours intact and you are on Friday. I want to thank God because He has shown His mercy to you. Because if it hadn't been for His mercy, you wouldn't have been where you are today. You wouldn't have seen Friday. But because of His love and His greatness, you have seen Friday. So let's leave our thick and through the week aside. I want us to share something about God, how small things matters to God. In your suffering, in your problems, in each and everything that you encounter, there is something that is small that is very significant and it can be of great value. I want to tell you to pay attention to the small things in your life. They are very important because God uses small things to do great things, to show His glory. There is a song that always says that this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. And so in your problems, in your troubles, in the storm, in the deepness of the water that you are going through, there is some little light that you need to let shine. And I've told you that God uses the small things to do impeccable things, to do great things. So today I just wanted us to share. I've been writing some few points down from the Bible. If you study the Bible, you will see that actually God did great things using small things. So I just want us to share that in the Bible how God used small things to do great things. He never picked people from rich backgrounds. No, He worked with the people who are despised. He worked with people who did not have enough resources. He empowered them for His greatness to be seen. Hallelujah. So I want us to focus on Moses' rod. When the Israelites had come from Egypt and they were almost crossing the Red Sea, the enemies were really following them and they had the chariots and everything that they could use for a battle, for an army to win during those days. But the Israelites, they had nothing. And God instructed Moses that, what do you have in your hand? That's why I'm telling you, what do you have? That little thing that you have. It can be of great value and importance. The Lord asked Moses, what do you have in your hand? And Moses said he had a rod in his hand, his rod. And the Lord instructed Moses, strike the water with your rod. God did not bring a mountain to separate. He did not bring something big to separate the water. And when Moses struck the water with his rod, the water in the sea split and a way was made. God did not use something great to show his glory or to save the Israelites from the Egyptians. And indeed, when you continue to study the Bible, you can see that they successfully crossed the river, the Red Sea, and then God again instructed Moses to strike the water again with the same rod, and the water came back together, and the Egyptians, they drowned into the water with everything powerful that they had. I want us to see again Gideon. There was a man in Israel, his name was Gideon. The Israelites were being attacked by some army. The Philistines were attacking the Israelites so much. And this time the Israelites did not have a stable army to help them fight. And then there was this man Gideon that's why I'm telling you, God uses small people from not strong backgrounds to show His might. And therefore that small thing that you have can be of great value. So God chose Gideon, and Gideon was coming from among the poorest clans in Israel. And in his clan that was already poor, Gideon's family was the poorest again. But God chose him when he was doing his work, and God told him that He wanted the Israelites to overcome the Philistines. And he told God, he tried to bargain with God, because God also knew his background. But the Lord has chosen him despite how little he was. And then he started to make an army, and he made an army of 32,000 soldiers only. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how many soldiers do you have in your country? But he made an army of 32 soldiers. That is very little. And our God said, no, that is too much. And he had to reduce the army to 3,000 to fight with over thousands of soldiers. And they got the victory. That shows that God takes account into small things. He doesn't need great things for greatness to be seen. And then we can see David, how David was chosen. When Prophet Samuel was sent by God to go to David's home, and he told David's father why he had visited them at home. And then David's father and Prophet Samuel, also being human beings, they thought that those elder brothers of David who were tall and well built, they are grown ups, were the people that were chosen by God. So every time he tried to anoint, God said, no, this is not the chosen one. Every time until the last one. Then the prophet Samuel asked, is there anyone that is left among your sons? And then they said, there's another one, but he's a small boy and he's taking care of the sheep in the wilderness. They did not see any importance in David, but God chose David among the smallest. And I also want to when we come to Jesus, when Jesus came to the world, the people whom he worked with, Jesus did not work with thousands of people. He only had 12 disciples. And if you can study the Bible, you can see the works that Jesus did, how they prayed for people, how people got delivered, how people got healed. The work was too much, but it was not done by thousands of people. It was only 12 disciples that Jesus worked with to do the great thing. So it does not need what you want to do, maybe it does not need greatness. You see, we also have the story, the mustard seed. When Jesus is trying to explain to us about the mustard seed, and he said that if you can have faith, the mustard seed, in this context I want to explain it in the context of faith. If you can have faith as small as a mustard seed, and then your prayer can be answered. You see, only small things are needed for great things to be done. And then we also have the Lord's approval of the widow who gave the last two coins. That is in Mark chapter 12, verse 41. Even in giving, sometimes in church you see people giving 10,000, 20,000, some hundreds of thousands, some millions, depending on the capability of the people in your church. But sometimes you have like only 200 bob, and you are feeling so ashamed. You see, God does not just look at how much you give. He looks deeper into it, the heart that you give with. So when this widow gave he only had 2 coins. She only had 2 coins. When she just gave the 2 coins that he had, God approved of the 2 coins. Mark you, there were people there who had given great things, animals that had huge prizes, lots of money, but this widow only had 2 coins, and the Lord approved of it. It doesn't need to be much for it to be great. And then we have the little boy who shared his lunch. Do you remember this story? I don't know, Jesus went to Galilee. The story is in John 6, verse 19. That after Jesus had completed the meeting with the people, and now the people were hungry, and Jesus told the disciples, now we cannot send these people as hungry as they are. We need to feed them. Then they asked among the group. Then there was a boy, and this boy, he only had, I don't know, some few fish and 3 loaves of bread. I don't know, 2 fish and 3 loaves of bread, or vice versa. But he had little food. This alone shows that this boy was not coming from a rich background. He was coming from a poor background. But Jesus took this food and prayed over it, and it multiplied. What does this show you? Anything, when you give it to the God, how matter how small it is, it's not important how small it is, but our Lord Jesus can multiply it. You might be having a business idea, but you think that this is too small, this cannot sustain, or you might already be in a business and think this business is too small. But when you give it to the Lord, we cannot fight our battles, but we have someone who fights our battles. Maybe you have a vision that you think that is too small, but when you give it to the Lord and you put actions into it, the Lord multiplies it and it becomes big. And then we had the mustard seed, the parable of the mustard seed. A mustard seed is so small, but it gives a tree that is so big. I don't know if it is the biggest tree, but a mustard seed is so small, and it gives a tree. It gives a tree that is so big that birds can perch on, animals can rest under it. You know what? This means that when small things are planted, they can yield big things. And Jesus compared the mustard seed according to Matthew chapter 13, verse 31 to 32. He compared the mustard seed to the kingdom of God, that it is very small, but when it is planted, it grows up so big. So do not despise the small thing that you have. And Jesus also he did not come to earth as a king. He did not come to earth as a full-grown man. He was born a little baby in a manger. But he grew, and later he saved us from humanity. It did not begin from greatness. It began from a very small thing. In fact, if you can remember, when Herod was looking for Jesus, he wanted to kill Jesus when Jesus was still a baby. But he grew up and he saved and he died for us on the cross. And he brought humanity back to God. He brought forgiveness. He connected us back to God. He did not come, even the angels in heaven were just there in heaven. But Jesus had to be born as a baby, and he grew up and he saved us from humanity. So what I just wanted to share with you is that, sometimes we go through a lot of troubles, but you have something that is very small in you. Sometimes you even despise it. But I tell you that if you can use that thing, it can be of value and it can yield more. You know what? Everything that you have, just give it to the hands of God. Pray about it, because it can yield something that you never expected. Sometimes you might be having a ministry and you think that I want to give up, this ministry is small, it can never grow. But things that are small and you give them to God, they can yield much more. I want to remind you that God takes into account the small things. Small things really matters to God. How he used Moses' rod to split the Red Sea and make a way. The widow who gave 2 coins and God approved of her giving. And remember that there were people who gave thousands, much more than this widow, but she only gave 2. Even in your giving, sometimes people are giving in church. Don't sit back and say, no, this of mine is too small. And I want to also encourage you. Sometimes you see that somebody is suffering, is going through a lot, they don't have food, they don't have clothes, and then you say that, I really wish you have the heart to help. I really wish I could be of help. But I just have small, it can't be of great help. I want to tell you that you don't need something big to be a prayer answer. Sometimes giving somebody food is a big prayer answer. Sometimes sharing your clothes with somebody can be a big prayer answer. So do not despise the small things that you have, because they are of great value to the Lord.